a therapist and soon to be author. The book is really the transition from couple to family and how to thrive within the relationship without killing each other or the relationship ending. The biggest thing that I see is a lot of unmet needs and not being seen. I'm putting myself last. Where are you? Why are you not helping? To me, a lot of the work has to come with, and I say this line often, there's no such thing as solutions, just a lot of trade-offs. With mental health and relationships, there's going to be trade-offs that you are giving because you have so much beauty and so much awesomeness as parts of who the person is and a part that makes it difficult. And if you are able to see the totality of the person and say, I'm willing and actively going to be okay, lovingly and with kindness, see them for who they are, and openly accept that trade-off. It makes a really successful narrative and relationship within a mental health struggle or any struggle that might come up in the relationship.
Have you ever felt so overwhelmed by your mental health concerns that it's hard to even contemplate getting help? Let's be honest. When you're really struggling, finding help and getting yourself to a therapy session can be really difficult. But that's where virtual therapy offerings like ours really make a difference. As a licensed clinical psychologist with 25 years of OCD treatment, I've worked with people to help them get their life back on track. I've also trained a clinical team to do the same here at NOCD. NOCD is an online platform offering specialized, accessible, and convenient OCD treatment. Our therapists take insurance and will work with you every step of the way to help you get your life back from obsessive-compulsive disorder. So head to nocd.com to book a call to start your treatment journey. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on our latest podcasts and webinars. Now, on to today's episode. Hi again, everyone, and welcome as we have Dr. Eli Weinstein on. And for the 97th time, Eli, we are going to get this right this time. This will work.
We got this. We got this. We're here for it. We're ready.
The joys of production things, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they fun and exciting? But anyway.
Magical.
Magical. Totally magical. Yes. And welcome everyone once again to the Get to Know OCD podcast. We're thrilled to have you here as part of our series that we do with NOCD. Eli, introduce yourself. Let everybody know a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah. So I'm a therapist out in Las Vegas and have a practice also in New York. Podcaster of the Dude Therapist podcast, where I had amazing Dr. Patrick on, I think like a year or two ago. And soon to be author. I don't know when this is coming out, but my book is coming out. I'm so used to saying airing because of the episodes.
Yeah. Airing the book.
Published.
Yes.
Airing the book, published in the beginning months of 2026, called From I Do to We Do, Navigating Relationships Through Parenting Years. What a journey it's been to write a book, but it's been a party. It's been fun, adventure, and that's what I'm up to right now.
I was thinking you could air it. Maybe you could do the WKRP Turkey episode where you just drop the books from a helicopter and people have to catch them or something like that.
Definitely think that might hurt a little bit for the people below, but I'll think about it. It's a good idea.
Turkey drop also did not go well for Les Nessman and the crew on the show, if you ever seen that. One of the funniest TV shows ever. That episode was amazing. Tell us about the book. And obviously, from I to we, I could understand in that there would be a lot of concerns. Let's say you have a child who has OCD or even one of the partners who has OCD. Sometimes it's I to we to three. If OCDs comes in the mix in that situation. I just made that up, by the way. So you might.
That's a better title than the book that I'm writing. So there you go.
Copyright. Hold on. I got a copyright there. But yeah, I'd love to get some insights on that from you. What your thoughts are.
Yeah. So the book is really the transition from couple to family and how to thrive within the relationship without killing each other or the relationship ending. Yeah. Because of the huge struggle and chaos that parenting does bring, and beauty, of course. But we're focusing on the hardship and because why would I write a book about the good things? That's boring.
Yeah. Who wants that?
It's magical. The end.
Yeah.
But it's really dives into the different parts of things that can get touched on, hurt, struggles, and it's with Wiley Publishers, who wrote the books for dummies.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been really an honor. I never thought I'd be an author. Not a good writer, so I feel really bad for the editors in about 3 weeks when they have to start looking at it and editing it. But that's their job, not mine. So it's going to be a great collaboration, hopefully, of creating something that really helps a lot of people. I know people that I work with, people that my colleagues work with, and a lot of people in the relationship world to kind of get into the down and dirty of relationships when it comes to being a parent.
What do you see parents bringing into the therapy room, the sessions, either individually or as couples, especially when there's now a third party making this more of what we consider traditionally, unfortunately, is the family? I mean, obviously there's so many different ways to think of a family, but for that.
The biggest thing that I see is a lot of unmet needs and not being seen. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting myself last. Where are you? Why are you not helping? Or I don't know who I am anymore. Or prioritizing needs in a way that doesn't feel guilt-ridden, that you're not focusing on your kid when you have to go take care of yourself or do things for yourself. The other thing I would say, like, that's all under not being seen. The other thing I'll say that I've seen often when it comes to the parenting world, and like that third party, let's say, whether it's 1, 2, 3 kids, or even a dog, it's just that stress and the juggling of it all that can feel so crushing that people have never learned how to deal with, right? How to just put things in their place and get them done and ask for help and those beautiful things. And the third thing I would say is how to help a little being grow when you might not even know for yourself what that means, and how to take care of yourself in that process, and also take care of a little, awesome bundle of craziness.
And that kid, that dog, that whatever comes into the family, sometimes is the distraction from the couple with their own issues. And then they put everything on that, but they don't speak to each other. Actually, they kind of speak through their interactions with whoever's joined the family. Yeah.
And I know in the introduction, I wrote about one of the worst fights my wife and I ever had was like the anniversary, like within that first year of my daughter's life, our first kid. And we just didn't communicate at all about anything that was going on. Mm-hmm. We were so focused on keep this thing alive. Let's do a good job. Let's be good parents, all these things. Don't kill the baby. And all the, ups and downs, the changes, of course, sleep and energy level and whose priorities come first after the baby and all these moving parts. And we just had one of the biggest blowout arguments we've ever had. And it's just such a true thing that it really just throws a wrench because it's a new thing that you've never learned before. And usually when it comes to the transition from singlehood to couplehood, usually you kind of have a lot more space to transition and really work through that change. But with parenting, you're just first day, you're in it. There's no I need space. The baby's screaming. The baby needs this. The baby needs that. I need this. I need this. It's just coming at you from 0 to 60, and you don't even know what happened.
Yeah, they're quite selfish, aren't they? For not giving you your space.
Yeah, they're very selfish. Yeah, very selfish.
Yes.
Little goblins that I heard someone call them.
I appreciate you saying, and you put in the book too, this blowout fight that you had with your wife about having to finally talk to each other. And I know that there
are a lot of stories like that in the book. Thank God.
Awesome. I know that's sensationalized a lot in some ways, but you're not sensationalizing it. And what I want to know is, how do you get past that? Because I think this is my critique sometimes of talks or conferences. We hear a lot about here's the things. This is the stuff, right? It's like, we had this fight. I want to hear all about the fight. But what we don't talk about is what's on the other end of that. So what do you suggest for people to do to get to the other side of the fight? Right? Yeah, it may not always be prevented, but how do you get to the other side?
So I have a chapter called Love and War, and that's like the conflict chapter. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the middle of finishing it up and, trying to really make it so that I can answer these really important questions, because I also hate when a speech or a talk or something gives ideas and then doesn't have any resolution, takeaways, but that's how I run therapy. Like I always want my clients to walk away feeling like we did something, and not be like, what the hell did I just do for an hour of my life? We just talked about sports. Like that doesn't help me at all.
No.
So the thing that I know helped me and helped was realizing what we were actually arguing about.
Okay.
Because it was literally like a venting, unloading, screaming match, not a I'm better, you're better, or I hate you and you hate me. It wasn't pointing fingers or attacking each other. It was just like we never let this stuff out. So it became after like we hit that crescendo of intensity, when things calmed down, we came back to like, okay, what the hell just happened? Right? It was that check-in afterwards of like, okay, we need to figure that out because we love each other. We're a good team. We figure things out often. Why did we just have this meltdown and total miscommunication in such an intense, extreme way? So it was really like the processing part. And I think with Love and War chapter, I'm going to dive in more details and things of that nature. But a lot of it is giving the space to process instead of just like saying, okay, I hate you, you hate me, or, loud noises and screaming. We good? It's like, no, we didn't. We got to figure out why this happened or what went wrong or what you felt that you needed to scream and yell at me about that you couldn't talk to me about a couple weeks ago. And the biggest thing I think that happens from the example that I gave from the screaming match, but also I think from a lot of couples I work with, is the idea that they hold on to so much so often and don't let it out. And in the book, I talk about this idea like daily check-ins or weekly check-ins, like a business where you go, hey, what's going on with you? How you doing this week? But actually mean it. And it might not be those wordings because I'm being very sterile with the example, but in a way of just making sure there's always an opportunity to like give someone the space to go, hey, the floor is yours, instead of holding on to it for 6 months. And then I like to use, I don't know if you read the book Feel Good Therapy by David Burns. He has this thing in his book about like the rug mentality, where when I was a teenager and my parents asked me to clean my room, I would take everything and shove it in the closet or under the rug, under the bed, or in a drawer.
Of course. Yeah.
Because on the outside, everything looked great. Oh, the room looks clean. But something opens that closet or door somehow. And that's what happens in relationships. We go, oh, this is not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. It's not a big problem. Oh, I'll talk to him another time. I'll talk to her another time. And it just builds up. So it's that constant check-in and kind of giving that space and that opportunity to just let things out without judgment, without hate, without aggression. Just be like, you need to talk, I need to hear, and vice versa. So it really was a learning lesson to like how to do that. But it took I will be honest, it took a couple of days to recover from that massive fight, and it took a couple of days till we actually could have that kinder space to talk. And we didn't force it, we didn't push it, we just like gave ourselves time to go, okay, I'm ready now. We need to process that. That was insane.
And it can take a couple of days, and that's okay.
Yeah. My grandmother was 97 years old, and she should live healthy and as long as she can. On our wedding day said, you don't go to bed angry. And I think she's very wrong. And I don't say that often. Like, it's okay if you're angry and you go to bed and you wait a couple of days to like deal with it when your brain isn't angry and you can actually listen and take care of things, because that's what you deserve and what your relationship deserves, is to be in a better state of mind to get things done.
Yeah. And if OCD is in the mix, boy, it probably is going to try to do all the wrong things to try to fix the situation too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because in the book, I wasn't asked by the publishing company to write about mental health as a narrative within relationships and parenting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And maybe that could be a second book that I end up doing at some point if they pay me a lot more money. Because writing a book takes a long time and is very hard. But there is a lot that has to be taken care of when there's a mental health diagnosis and it's active and rearing its ugly, head sometimes, where there needs to be a lot more kindness and compassion that's sometimes not so easy to do, but really, really needed, so that can work through its system and take care of the things that needs to be taken care of, where then you have a space as the other person to not like hate on the person for having OCD or hate them for having anxiety, but it could be a source of a lot of bumps and bruises within that relationship.
Right. So in your practice, obviously, you deal with people who have mental health concerns. You deal with people in relationships. What are some of those crossovers and areas that you really do need to focus on?
So, recently unfortunately, I was working with a couple for like 2 years, worked with an individual, and they broke up after like 7 years of being together.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that she has borderline personality disorder. I voiced my concerns and my worries to her therapist, to my client, all these different things. And a lot of times it's very easy to blame the mental health as the reason. But I don't really like doing that personally as a therapist, because it's just a part of the person's story. It's part of who they are, whether it's anger, anxiety, personality disorders, financial struggles. It's not like this is the reason we broke up. No, the person is like it's the person and everything that makes them who they are. And to me, a lot of the work has to come with, and I say this line often, it's a line from an economist. I always forget who said it, and it's not the one that everyone says said it. There's no such thing as solutions, just a lot of trade-offs.
Okay.
And with mental health and relationships, there's going to be trade-offs that you are giving, because you have so much beauty and so much awesomeness as parts of who the person is, and a part that makes it difficult. And it doesn't have to be mental health. It could be any struggle. It could be anything that you can think of, a sibling, a mother-in-law, father-in-law, their job, whatever it might be. And if you are able to see the totality of the person and say, I'm willing and actively going to be okay, lovingly and with kindness, see them for who they are, and openly accept that trade-off, that this is just part of my life with them, and they are fully who they are, and I can live with that and have my days of struggle and have my awesome days of happiness. It makes a really successful narrative and relationship within a mental health struggle, or any struggle that might come up in the relationship. It's that one day where I start going, is this worth it? Is this really worth the trade-off? And then that like creeps into resentment and contempt and all that kind of stuff that Gottman's talk about when it comes to the four horsemen's, of the narrative being built, and then confirmation bias that they do suck because of this. Like they really are a terrible person. And then you stop seeing the trade-offs. You just totally see the devil. You totally see that emptiness. There's no other part of them except for that problem. And that's where people get in trouble, is that they don't see the other parts that can be wonderful. And a small part is very difficult and hard to deal with. Can I give that person my kindness and love? Can I be able to see the full picture of them?
Yeah.
There's always going to be something, right? And like people always say like, oh, how am I going to know? You don't. It could be an unfortunate, cancer diagnosis, MS, Parkinson's, ALS. Like it could be some terrible thing that happens to your partner. So then you're just gonna be like, okay, bye-bye. If that's who you are, that says a lot about you. But on top of it, it's a part of the journey of being with someone. Things happen, stuff comes up.
Yeah, I lived that when my wife got cancer. I mean, that was part of our journey, right? And until she passed away, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was just, we were married for a year. Then she started to get sick and had a few surgeries and various things, and then we finally, a year and a half later, found the cancer, and then I was her caretaker until she died almost 3 years ago now. And it was just a part of it. I didn't walk away from her, and it wasn't fun. Also, just so you know, it sucked. Actually, it was really pretty terrible. But I think that all of us have just some well of energy that we have to pull on once in a while. And that's not to say that I stuck through it and people who don't have it. I just think everyone has a certain breaking point in certain things, and some relationships are going to work, some are not going to work. And various mental health conditions can play roles in how people interact with each other, and even how people blame each other for some of the things that go on. Depression, OCD, anxiety, all of those are also going to play roles in every one of those aspects of the relationship.
Yeah, and I will say two more things just about that. Number one, I really would say like get extra help, of course. Like get a third party
Yeah.
to bounce off ideas if you are reading into things, seeing things, your perception of things could be skewed because you're in it, or you don't see it because you're in it. Right? A client of mine who someone had OCD in the relationship, a couple, and they didn't like pick up on how difficult, they never like educated themselves. The other person never educated on what OCD could be and like the monster that it can be and the positive, like the full life of what it could be with OCD. And I said, like, how come you never got help and asked someone? Oh, it was fine. I was doing great. No, I know you, not the person with OCD, the partner. I'm like, I understand that. Mm-hmm. But like, this is a real thing that you could have just had a lot of support with over the years and could have helped just build a lot of better foundational things so that when it finally reared its ugly head, you wouldn't have been like, what the hell is this? You would have been a lot more informed, a lot more prepared, and a lot more been able to deal with it as an individual. Take the couple out of it for a second. And sometimes I work with couples where they don't see it and they go, how come I never saw this? How come I never realized or was awake to this problem? I'm like, because you're too in it. So it's beautiful that you are willing to go above and beyond and be totally invested and do whatever it took to be in the relationship despite all of the pain it could have caused. But it's good to have a third party. The second thing I'll say is that, like, I know for myself, like, I have Crohn's. And when I was dating my wife, my mother-in-law had a really heart-to-heart conversation with my wife and said, hey, do you want to live a life with someone who has Crohn's? Mm-hmm. Right? It's a really important question to ask someone. Now, I'm in remission. Thank God I'm doing well. A mental health diagnosis, a physical disorder, or anything that you know from the get-go should be a conversation that you have with yourself and the other person of, what does this mean to me? What does this mean to you? How does it give me all the details so that I can make an informed decision if I am willing to accept that and be fully on board, fully invested, knowing all the facts. And I'm not just walking in blindly to something, surprised. And that's on the person who has whatever it might be, and on the other person to ask questions and to be very straightforward with the questions about what this means so that there's no moment or hidden, skeletons in a closet, so that we can be very informed from the beginning and have conversations and deal with it earlier on versus we're totally invested 10, 15, 20 years in. And now it's been 10, 15, 20 years of hurt and pain and struggle. Yeah. And now it's even uglier and harder to deal with.
I think some people would hear that story of your mother-in-law saying things about Crohn's and think, God, why are you meddling? But I really appreciate that. I think really, that's...
honestly, and as the son-in-law, and I can talk for a lot about my mother-in-law's good and bad.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. She is a straight shooter.
Yeah.
And she literally told my wife, this was like a few months before our wedding. Mm-hmm. Like, we were about to get married. And she's like, I will not judge you. I will not hate you. I will not get upset with you if we have this conversation and we talk heart to heart, because I want the best life for you.
Right.
And if you are bought in, I have your back.
Yeah.
If you're not bought in, I have your back. But no, I have your back. And to me as a parent, I want my kids to know that they can come to me the day of their wedding, the day of a very important thing, a test, whatever it might be, a decision, and say, I'm scared, help me.
Yeah.
I don't know, talk to me. Or they can tell me things and they know that I have I can hold them, I can have their back 100%. And I really admired it. And at the time, I was not freaked out by that question. Yeah. I applauded it. I said, thank you for asking her, because I was talking to her about it. And guess what? That question really helped our marriage, because in the beginning, I was really sick. I was really not okay. I was hospitalized. We had to cancel some vacations. Like, things came up that my wife was like, what am I doing in this marriage? But she never had those thoughts because she was prepared. Someone sat her down and said, I love you enough to ask the hard questions. And I truly admire that about my mother-in-law. She's a straight shooter. She does not beat around the bush.
And that really goes to what you said, where once people are in it, they don't really see it, right? And whatever we can do to help people see it. And I think that that's part of our job, even in therapy, is to help people see things that they're not seeing, be it as a person, be it in a relationship, be it with a child. I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure you see this too, where I'll be out with a couple friends and I see signs of things in their children, right? And I have this internal debate go on in my head always about, oh man, do I want to say something? What are your thoughts on stuff like that?
You're going to get me in trouble. So I have two things that I do. One, if any friend asks me advice, I always say this one line. I said, do you want the therapist or do you want the friend?
That's
number one.
I applaud.
That's always what I ask. And I do that with my wife.
Wonderful.
I do that with I do that with anyone who asks me like a hard question about mental health. I say, I can be very loving and kind and supportive as your friend, as your husband, as your son-in-law, brother-in-law, whatever it is. But if you want the therapist, I'm going to use a different tone.
Yes.
And I'm going to be a little harsher because that's the way I do my therapy. I'm very no BS straight shooter.
Right.
The other thing I do as a joke, but no one's really picked up on it yet, is that because I'm Orthodox Jewish and we keep Sabbath, we have guests over for holidays and every week. If I know a certain couple is coming over, I have about 300-400 books behind me of different mental health topics, and I will leave in the like this is my office. We have like a library area like by like the living room. And I just leave a few books amongst like religious books and all these different things. I'll leave a few like English nonfiction.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what is The Explosive Child?
Oh,
like they'll be like, oh, what is that book, Ellie? Oh, I'm glad you asked. And I'll explain the book. And I really should read that. I'm like, you're always welcome to borrow it.
Yeah.
Like that's the please take it from me. Bring it back when you're done. And they go, no, it's okay. I'll get it another time. They never do. Yeah. But it is hard for me because I get asked a lot of advice in my community. I speak at the high schools. They ask me to help with certain things. I do not work with people in my community because I do see them every week at synagogue.
Right.
Like my community here in Vegas. But I happen to find it an honor when people trust me that much to ask me a hard thing about their kids, or ask me a hard thing about their marriage, or ask me a real thing about their education system in their school, or how to deal with, like I'm talking tomorrow to the middle school about how to deal with technology nowadays, how to just do it in a balanced, healthy way after the anxious generation kind of took over, the world and changing policies. It's an honor for me, but it's hard because I want to, balance the relationships. But I always have this line that I'm off on the weekends. When I'm at synagogue or these things, people talk to me, I'm like, I don't therapeutize on Sabbath. What's that movie? Big Lebowski, right?
Yeah.
He yells, I don't bowl on Sabbath. Right. So I don't therapeutize on Sabbath.
Yeah. I do a similar thing. I'll say, are you paying me for this conversation or are we just having this conversation? So,
yeah. Just $1. It's like, those like TV shows with a lawyer and they're like, just give me $1.
Just give me $1.
Have confidentiality,
I keep my, my Lucy 5 cents, please, thing right there for everybody. So that we know.
That's really funny.
Yeah. How is the state of children in social media? We hear a lot about anxious generation, but I was also just at ADAA and there's some pushback on some of the ideas around there too. So what are your thoughts about where we're at right now?
I think it's a mixed bag because I really think it depends on what culture and where you're being brought up and what the values are in the home. Yeah. So like I grew up in and I grew up now. I'm still growing up, every day. I'm still a little kid. But I grew up in an environment where there was balance to life. It wasn't all or nothing, like you watch TV all day or you play. And we had rules on what I couldn't watch. I never grew up watching The Simpsons or Family Guy. Like I wasn't allowed to watch that in my home. Yeah. Because my parents thought that was inappropriate. But like I watched baseball and sports and, watched Family Matters and all those things, in the early 90s and cartoons. But there was a lot of balance. And I think that's, to me, the Anxious Generation book is all about just teaching balance. And I think, of course, there's a lot of it about, cell phones and Instagram and TikTok and all the overwhelming stimulation and messages coming across because you become the marketplace and you become the product that they're throwing ads to. But I spoke and I said, social media is not bad. Technology is not bad. It just has to be used better for what your needs are. My kids watch TV, and I do notice that when we watch too much TV or, the the backdrop of why we're using TV is that we can have more time as parents, isn't always the best answer. Like, oh, just have the babysitter TV take care of my kids. That, there's a lot of research and science behind like being involved in your kid's life, even for 15 to 20 minutes a day. Like total locked in with them could just make them feel love and chemicals going through their body and the growth in ways that TV cannot. But TV's not the devil. It's not. And I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish community. Like, it's not the devil. Things that are on the TV can be very inappropriate. The TV is not a problem. Mm-hmm. It's what you as a parent get to choose. You are the ones who control what your kids watch and don't watch. Would I suggest YouTube? No, because you have no control over the ads and you have no control over how often the ads come up and overwhelm someone's brain. But I would say that to you as an adult. I get pulled in by YouTube and get overwhelmed and lose hours of time. I would say that to myself as an adult. It's not just mm-hmm. kids. Mm-hmm. The kids don't need to watch YouTube. But storytelling, as Jonathan Haidt talks about, storytelling is the beauty of, it's a different avenue of storytelling. And that's what we've always done, whether it's in the caves drawing pictures, whether it's a book, whether it's Harry Potter or, Mo Willems or The Giving Tree or, whatever it is, it's all stories. So long version stories is beautiful, whether it's Bluey, Daniel Tiger, any, productive Sesame Street, or it's a Disney movie, it's a story. What's wrong with a story? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But then people get into conversations of wasting time and all these things. Okay, that's your perspective as a parent and as an adult about what is time, what is the value of time. And I think but I do see that when I pulled back on my kids watching as much TV, initially there was like a detox. They freaked out.
Sure.
And their aggression level was lower afterwards. Their ability to pay attention was lower afterwards. But they're also 6 and 3. Their attention isn't that great anyways. So we really have to take who our kids are at face value, know who they are, know what they can handle, and parent them as such when it comes to social media. I got a phone when I was in high school because I would go on the bus, like the community, the city bus. And it was for safety. It was a flip phone for safety. Right? Okay. If you feel your kid needs a phone for safety, that's one thing. Your kid does not need a smartphone with social media at 8. Mm-hmm. They don't need that. Mm-hmm. You want them to have that. You think they're whatever reason they're going to have, but they don't need it. So I think the Young Generation made a lot of good points. I think if anyone actually read the full book from cover to cover, they'd realize that any book, even mine, there are good points and points that don't matter to you and it doesn't, applicable to you. So take the points that you like and run with it. The points that you don't like, it's okay. So, but I do think there is a state of teenagers that I'm seeing in my community, in the world today that I'm working with parents of. There's a lot of self-esteem, a lot of doubt, and a lot of just angst about the world. And I don't think that's just a social media problem. I think that's just the world we live in today, which is just angsty and intense. And there's just so much knowledge, so much kids are talking about politics in ways that adults don't. That's the beauty of the world. But it also is angsty for a 9-year-old and 10-year-old screaming about tariffs when they have no idea what that is. And an adult don't even know what that is, Yeah. So it's just it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on. And I think we as therapists have our hands full. And I think as parents, we have our hands full to just make sure our kids are safe and healthy and well. But we don't know what this stuff is going to cause. We don't know the future. We just got to do our best every day and see what happens, and try to just give love and kindness and care to our kids. And that's really the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I think about the only way I could have gone out with a phone is if there was a wire connected to it. And I would have just because there were no cell phones when I was a child. So, yeah, they just didn't exist.
Yeah. Did you have car phones?
Eventually, my dad had a
car
phone.
Yeah, car phone also.
Or the bag phone, which was you carried the phone in the bag. Yeah, and you could bring it into the car. Yeah, that was...
I remember that, yeah.
That was fascinating. Yes, I remember that. But I know for me, my parents had no idea where I was for at least 8 hours a day.
And it's funny because that's becoming a trend now.
Yeah.
To not know where your kids are, but to let your kids be. And it's this, what? How could you? It's this aha moment of what's wrong. And it doesn't mean, and I heard someone on, I forget what podcast, Dak Shepard, armchair expert. Mm-hmm. He says that him and about 12 families, they have this cohort of families that they all trust and they all They all have similar values. Their kids bounce between all their houses throughout the week.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that they're at one of the houses.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids know they have to be at one of the houses.
Yep.
And it's not that you can go do whatever the hell you want and run to the park that's 10 miles away. But like, these 5 houses are safe places.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we play. Go have fun. Enjoy yourself. Be outside. Live life. And, you know, there is a beauty to that, a magic to that kids playing outside and having free play does beauties to their development.
Yeah. I love seeing that in my neighborhood. And
yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Even our local library has a bus, and they park it here on Fridays. And they said this is the busiest neighborhood for the library bus because kids just swarm it when it comes every Friday. That. And I just think it's amazing, you know, that I like seeing people outside again. It just
we're reverting back to that. I think the society's reverting back to that 80s, you know, 70s, 80s trend of just being outside and spending time outside and traveling outside and camping outside and experiencing outside.
I even saw it destroy some vacation places because nobody wanted to be doing the group activities anymore. Everybody was just on their phone and doing their own thing. And it was like, it kind of took down what the whole plan of the place was, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It is nice to see. Maybe we're not so attached anymore. So that's good. Yeah. That's got to help relationships too, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're 2 feet from each other. You might not be communicating.
Yeah, I actually there was a video a couple of years ago by some speaker. His name is Charlie Harari, some Jewish guy. And he had a video he did about like 15 years ago, and it was called like Disconnect to Connect. And you see a father and mother pushing empty swings in the park or sitting at a table and there's like nothing there. And then you take the phone away and all of a sudden everyone exists like magically.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like everyone pops into the image because now you're aware, you're present. Of course there was like gray and now there's color, like Wizard of Oz, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, amazingness. And I think that takes awareness of the couple to be like, hey, we're going to have set times where we put our phones away because it's nighttime. I should not be working right now. My job is not saving lives. I'm not on call, you know, I'm an accountant, I'm a, you know, OT, PT, whatever I can put my phone down. Like, so it's going to be okay. And for us, and I grew up in this, and I don't know if people do this. Like I grew up and I'm very big on having family meals together as much as we can. And our phones are down and we talk to our kids and we talk to each other. We have, you know, a date night once a week. And that means putting your phones away and just spending time with each other. And it's an in-date night because like it's in the house. Because that's how we want to do it. And that's okay. And some nights we are watching our favorite show together. One night we're not. We're doing our separate things and that's all good. But it's about being aware that this relationship matters. And me sitting on a couch 2 cushions away from each other on our phones is parallel playing. Yeah. Like kids do that. But like at least they're playing with toys and they can talk to each other. You're just sitting so far apart. You're just like floating near each other. You're not even existing with each other. That does not count spending time together. And it really, really hurts relationships. It's why people become apart from each other because they haven't spent time just talking. And it's such an important thing to say, you know what? For the next 30, 40 minutes, we're putting our phones down. Put a timer on. If it's hard for you, put a timer on.
Right. Because doing that opens up an opportunity at least to have the tough conversations. So that they don't blow up into explosive things.
Yeah.
Right.
But a lot of people, by the way, which is a great point, use the cell phone or use the technology to avoid like talking, which I get, right? We all are decompressing. We're all going into the video games or Instagram scrolling to get away from the world. I understand it. I hear you. I do it. I get it. But like you're doing a disservice to yourself and your relationship. My wife and I have a code word when we need to talk and let something off our chest without it being a big thing. We say rompus because it's my favorite word from Where the Wild Things Are. All right. Let the rompus begin. It means dance and jump around. I don't know. I just love that word growing up, like vocabulary. I don't know. I just love that word. So she looks at me and I look at her and if we need to talk, I need to get this off my chest. It's on my heart. It was a couple of days ago, 3 hours ago. It's not happening right now. But if I don't tell you, it's going to build into something as a problem. Okay. I don't want it to be a problem. So that's the conversation, right? That's the reason for the word. So take all that Smush it into one word and say rumpus or passion fruit or sassafras or whatever ridiculous. There you go. Armadillo, right? And then you go, okay, and you listen. That's the signal that I need to listen to this person. They just need to get it off their chest. I'm not going to be defensive. I'm not going to jump down their throat. This is not an argument. This is my person feeling like they need to get off their chest because they need to be vulnerable and I need to be there to hear them. And it's hard. As the other person, it's very hard to hold your tongue. It's very hard to not defend yourself. Let them get it off their chest. And then you say, okay, can I share something? And then you can talk about it. But it's not about proving you're right. It's not about proving them wrong. It's just saying what it brings up and why it feels. I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I asked my wife to can I put this dish in the sink to just soak? It's really disgusting. She got really fussy about it. Okay. I was like, what? Where did that come from? 2 hours later, she goes, hey, Ellie, I need to do rumpus. I went, sure, what's up? She said, by you asking me that, I thought because I'm the one who made the mess on that dish that you were pointing out, clean up your damn dish. Why did you not clean it up? And by me saying, hey, I'm going to, like a child, I'm doing this because you made the mess. And she said, and I know you didn't mean that. And I know that's on me. And I know that's my head projecting that. But that's why I got upset. I just wanted to let you know where I was coming from. Done. Over. Thank you for letting me know. Now I know why you got upset. I can then release my frustration about what the hell was that? And then it's over.
Love that.
But if that continued 2 or 3 days, she would have held on to that. I would have held on to my frustration of what the hell was that? I just asked to soak a dish. And then something else 2 days down the line would have been even stronger of an argument, more aggressive of an argument, because neither of us released the 2 or 3 days before emotion or deal.
Because it's an exponential effect over time, right?
Yeah, it just builds up. Anger doesn't go away. It builds. We're not like all of a sudden, I was angry yesterday and we never talked about it and dealt with it. So tomorrow I'm fine. Usually not. Usually we hold on to it.
Great stuff. The Dude podcast. Tell everyone a little bit about it.
It's on the 6th season. Still trying to get famous like everyone else,
Are we all?
And there we go. I know, right? I just want some ads, just some money. No, I'm not looking for all that. I'm just kidding. I did it out of boredom during COVID. I am not a good writer. I'm a better speaker. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do the blog like everyone else. Let me do the podcast. I've interviewed amazing people like yourself and other wonderful experts in the field of their own, whether it's relationships, specific diagnoses of mental health, like OCD and anxiety, like the amazing work that you guys do at NOCD. People like athletes who have mental health issues. USA Boxer is coming out in a couple of weeks. Apollo Ono, and amazing voices in the world of mental health. And it really has been a huge, awesome journey. And I will say that, all the hard work of making a podcast is very hard. I do it myself. It's very difficult. But if it wasn't for the podcast, I wouldn't have gotten the book deal. So who knows where the podcast takes. If anyone's listening and they want to do a podcast, please don't. There's enough of us. But if you would still want to do it, just know that if 1 or 2 people are listening, it's awesome. And if you help 1 or 2 people, that's amazing. But it's been a fun ride, and we'll see where it goes. And it's not just for dudes. I'm just a dude who's a therapist. That's really what it is. I just couldn't come up with a better name. And I'm too lazy to rebrand.
Fantastic.
And where can everybody find you?
Instagram, Eli Weinstein _LCSW, the Dude Therapist on Instagram, the podcast, my website's EliWeinsteinLCSW.com. And stay tuned to the book and the pre-ordering. It's probably going to come out in February of 2026 or March, trying to get around Valentine's Day for relationships. And if you need something, want to chat, talk, just reach out to me anytime.
Dr. Eli, thank you for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And thank all of you for watching the Get to Know OCD podcast. If you're looking for help for OCD or related conditions, check us out at NOCD.com. That's NOCD.com, where we do work with OCD and related conditions like body-focused repetitive behaviors, tics, hoarding, and anxiety disorders, mood issues, and even trauma. Thanks for watching again, and we'll see you soon on another edition of the Get to Know OCD podcast. And if you like it, subscribe to the NOCD YouTube channel. See you soon.